sit in a dark and cramped room. Papers litter the floor as computer screens flicker on top of a desk. A cold sense of isolation fills every corner as closed blinds cover the window from the dark silhouettes of the outside world. And in this lonely, secluded room, our character quietly sits still, bathed in the atmosphere. This already does an incredible job into setting the tone of this game. The uncomfortable and lonely feelings that somehow goes all the way around into bringing a weird sense of warmth. The stillness of a place that seems to only move forward as you perceive it. This is Nophenia, a game about walking through dreams. In this game, you're simply wandering from place to place, traversing these moments which all seem made specifically for you to just get lost in. A lonely train station where small droplets of rain fall all around the platform. The train cars move monotonously, seeming endless, just passing you by as the moon silently watches from the distance. And your only objective is to find the door that will take you to the next dream. A red river crosses between the banks of snow, as monuments and towers stretch far upwards toward the sky. A vivid moon mimics the tones of the water, and in the middle of these strong and beautiful contrasting colors, you find yourself lost in this amazing yet intriguing landscape. From long forgotten apartment buildings to quiet residential blocks in the middle of the night, every place in this game feels like it's made specifically for you to just experience. Unlike most titles, you don't have any grand objectives. The actions at your disposal are incredibly limited. Just being able to quietly sit down at a beach and taking the atmosphere around you. And it was the feelings that this game conveys that really got me thinking about dreams and the question of what is a place. In 1958, Gaston Bachelard published a book called The Poetics of Space. Presents ideas about how when you're asked to describe a room, you could say that the hallways were around 2 meters wide. On the ceiling, light bulbs were placed at certain intervals, lighting up the rooms, as doorways dotted the walls running along the corridors. And that would be true, but you're not describing what the room is, you're just describing its geometry. A place that seems to forget the idea of movement. Repeating ceiling lights and identical walls giving a feeling of stillness. The hallways feel longer than they could ever be. Around it, we see the city stretching far, a sense of isolation, the realization of how small we really are, with massive power lines evoking the eerie sense of a busy place, completely devoid of life. Some are so gigantic where, in the distance, even the strong tones of red give way to their saturation, just making you wonder for how long do these endless buildings really stretch out. The Poetics of Space presents the idea of places not as a physical space, but an emotional one, being remembered as feelings. In Nophenia, places are not somewhere that will make you ask where you're supposed to go or how to find items. These environments want you to feel them. They're not defined by what you can find in them, but on how you interact with digesting them in an emotional way. And it's through the color palettes, the beautiful, simple geometry that leaves a lot open to the imagination, you can clearly see how every moment throughout this game can be extremely captivating, especially when thinking about how they were created. Everything feels so carefully done that it's always easy to just get lost in. making you wonder, what do they want to express? What is the purpose of making a place like this? And what is its meaning? In 1917, a letter written by John Keats, we got our first glimpse of a concept called negative capability. Long roads that stretch endlessly through the fog as massive cityscapes lay still behind a sidewall, or narrow alleyways covered by rain in feelings of summer abandoned after its closing hours. A lot of the places in this game can fit perfectly inside the idea of negative capability. The concept of experiencing something without instantly trying to solve it or just reduce it to an explanation. When walking around a forest in the middle of nowhere, snow covers every inch of ground, as amid the trees a tall metal tower stands massively over the white landscape. Instead of asking where is this place or trying to find the reason behind it, you just sit in the willingness to never explain it. You dwell inside the uncertainty itself, something valuing the experience before the interpretation. From endless flower fields contained into a space filled by nothingness, to the very depths of the sea, so many of the dreams that you visit inside Nophenia are perfect to just be felt and nothing more. Always asking you to willingly let a road just remain a road, or to let a distant city remain always beyond your reach. And this is a concept that pairs extremely well with the entire idea of the sublime. Our minds always want to build a coherent image of something. Even with all the concepts talked in this video, we naturally always want to grasp meanings around everything we perceive. But what actually happens when encountering something that our minds just cannot fully understand? Standing by a road that stretches endlessly, you know what the road is, you know its purpose, but the overwhelming vastness of a place like this completely absorbs you. The endless plains that could just go on forever, filled entirely by emptiness. Massive structures that are just too big or busy to conceptualize. Moments like these are just amazing. Not the frustration of not being able to grasp something, but the idea of perceiving something that's just too rich to simply be described, which is all paired perfectly with the lack of explanations and objectives that accompany you throughout this journey. You keep moving forward without expecting an answer, and just existing and experiencing these places. And it can get even more interesting when you really dive deep into the surreal. Places that, in an almost unfiltered way, really dive into the most basic forms of some of the concepts I've talked about. Experiences that come entirely before any kind of rationality. Moments completely focused on just the feelings of perceiving something. These moments in this game are not something that's effective because it hides an answer, but actually just because there's no need of one. People always want lore, they always want meaning. But this game is not giving you a story, you're not uncovering a secret, it's simply showing something to you. The meaning itself is unfolded by what emotions you yourself feel by traversing these places. And I just really like the contrast of the surrealistic scenes that we can find. They can feel impossible to wrap our heads around, being paired with the completely mundane sights. Coming out of an endless body of water dotted with geometrical forms floating just above your head, accompanied by vivid and bright colors that bring you a weird sense of warmth, all under the watchful gaze of a massive full moon lingering in the sky above, to finding yourself in an apartment complex, the monotone grey colors of the buildings that follow the architecture to a fault, The sense of repeating windows broken down by the few sparks of life in the few lit rooms, and the cold feelings of the night as the dark tones of grey stitch themselves to every corner of the concrete. As the world becomes delicate in a way of a heavy blanket of white snow covering the normal sides of streets broken up by lampposts. Both of these places are conceptually completely different from each other, but the way you're made to perceive them is similar, from the uncomfortable feelings of being lost in the vast endless ocean, to the discrepancy of the overwhelming silence that can be heard right in the heart of this apartment complex. It gives you something that breaks your expectations, something that's just detached from reality, and it's by the many conflicts that arise from your expectations when encountering these places, be them instantly obvious or quietly subtle, that you're made to experience them in a completely new light, opening the opportunity for you to truly feel something unique. And that's why I actually think that Nophenia is amazing. If you're watching this video until now, honestly, thank you so much. I actually didn't really know where I was going with this video, and I kinda just wanted to say stuff. It was a lot of work getting out the cinematic shots, and also, if you didn't notice, I did make every song in this video. So if you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a like and comment what you think. It does help a lot. My other music is also in the description, and I did release an album last year. It has vocals and stuff, and it can be kinda weird, but who knows, maybe you'll find some value on it. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.